Good afternoon or evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ambassadorial Wing and another installment in the Council of One's Babylon 5 review. And good to see so many familiar faces in the chat today. And of course, I have got my fellow council members, Fiona Wolf, Mountains of Elysium, and Zodrider with me today. And today, it comes to an end. Today, we break down the episode, Endgame. And to everybody that is in the chat, Bureau 31, Archer Colin, and whoever else is lurking in there, good to see you all today. Glad that you are here and hope you all enjoy the stream. And as always, make sure you smash that like button, share this out with your friends, and hope you all enjoy the stream. So, my fellow council members, we have reached the somewhat end of the road, at least for this particular part of the journey. So, I've done my thing. Let's jump right in and let's break down Endgame.
It's the very unhappy incidents of one Susan Ivanova and her sheer bad luck in relationships.
Well, actually, that's covered more so in the next episode. But yes, you are correct, Fiona.
She's not gonna wake up happy. No, she's not. Nope.
So, but yeah, this episode we've got the big finale. We've got the war against Clark coming to its very bloody and contentious conclusion, and there is no lack of drama. There is no lack of quandary for anybody that's been involved in this in the conflict against Clark since, well, essentially season 2, after he murdered President Luis Santiago. And of course, at the center of this whole thing, you've got the one, the only Captain John Woohoo Newcomb Sheridan. Except this time, he didn't use any nukes, but he was about to use ramming speed.
Hey, how much you want to bet they would have put a keeper on the vice president had he not been so agreeable to, I want to have a change of management.
Yep, that's Fiona. That is very, very true. That is
because the Shadows definitely always wanted to use us as a cat's paw. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, of course. Us humans are very useful for that. So, Elysium, Zodrider, your thoughts,
I was just thinking Clark was probably too toxic even for the keepers. He was a pretty nasty little toad. And he didn't need a keeper to be controlled. There was so many around him were pretty much using him as a puppet. He was just the excuse for others to do the nasty work.
That is true.
And Bester was at the heart of all of it.
I was just going to say that. Bester is the heart of this part of the story, to say the least. And it really is kind of tragic in a way that we don't actually in live action get to see Bester get his comeuppance. It's terrible.
Indeed.
Nope. But that link I shared earlier, you can get the Psychor trilogy and see just how much he gets his stuff.
Again, I was just going to say the Psychor trilogy is a wonderful, wonderful series.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you'll get to see him get his comeuppance, even though he's like, I outlived you, Sheridan. Well, Sheridan had better karma, thank you.
Well, what's cool in book form, you can kind of imagine it however you want. That's kind of joyous.
Well, here's the wacky idea. I mean, we could always apply my idea for my Star Wars radio drama. We could always do the Psychor books as a radio drama. Just break it down into a script. Of course, I'd have to get my hands on copies first,
or go through chapters or something.
Yeah, do a chapter at a time. That'd be kind of fun.
Again, wink. You can follow that link above and get at least in digital format because they don't seem to want to reprint these things. So,
I know, right?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, for hardcore B5 fans like us, which there is a lot of us, I'm not going to diminish that fact. There is a lot of us. At the same time, is it going to would it maybe profit them to do it? Maybe not in the do a reprint per se. Who knows? So, but we're not here to debate the logistics of reprinting books or not. We're here to break down this episode. So, guys, gals, gal, singular. I officially, like I said, I open the floor. Let's get into this. Where do you want to begin?
Well, it opens rather ominously with Franklin's whole medical profile on like what can that machine do? Well, and then Marcus is like, ooh, after he figures this out later. But yeah, oh man, yeah, it's gonna be a hell of a fight either way, as Franklin notes it in his log. But it doesn't diminish the fact that Ivanova did really hurt them bad.
Well, yeah, because consider the fact that the White Stars pretty much destroyed every single one of those advanced destroyers. Now it's just the regular Omega class destroyers that they're going to have to contend with, and that even in itself is no small business. And you got that one general left court who was one of Sheridan's teachers, and he's like, they want me in here because he's like, I know how Sheridan thinks. But here's the thing. Sheridan is not the same person that he was when he went through the academy. He has changed. He has quite literally evolved. He has gone to hell and back, as he says in the next episode. So everything that Left Court potentially could know about Sheridan may no longer be equivocable or applicable. Excuse me.
Very true.
Or and I do like the fact that Lita again shows her potential by like she has to lead all the telepaths into taking over the other ships, or at least give them a good nudge, because that's a heck of a thing to wrangle that many telepaths to disable that many ships.
Yeah, well, you think, because remember next season, when we get into next season, she describes Mr. Garibaldi says it perfectly. That is the telepathic equivalent of a thermonuclear device. Yeah, it is. And we see her go kaboom in this episode. Because she wakes all those telepaths up and says, okay, go play. And they go play.
And even though Franklin isn't like one of the big major players and gets a ton of screen time or like limelight in terms of things, if he wasn't there, he will, they wouldn't probably be able to figure out a way to use these guys, these shadow imbued telepaths, to do this stuff, because he's the one that made up the device that Lead is able to use. So
well, yeah, because that device is pretty much reverse engineered shadow tech in the manner of speaking. So we do see from that particular piece of tech that Franklin puts on Toledo, they have figured out, at least in part, how to use it.
And now that I think about it, that could also be the reason why the Drakh are like, oh, we're gonna put a plague on humanity. They're a little bit more troublesome than we gave them credit for.
Well,
Let's get rid of them.
They definitely wouldn't be the first plague on humanity, would they? So, I mean, it's, yeah.
Well, here's the thing too, and they'll get into this, and we'll get into this a little bit deeper in the next episode. The efficacy of using those telepaths is not an easy thing for anybody to reconcile themselves with. Franklin in particular, because Franklin is first and foremost a physician. What is the Hippocratic Oath? Do no harm. In a manner of speaking, Franklin has broken that oath because he's not doing direct harm, but he's also not able to heal those people.
Not yet. At least not at their current tech level.
But I can see where that bothers him, because it's kind of like unfinished work that's taking away from him, and he doesn't get the opportunity to try and solve and save those people, So I think that's a factor too.
Yeah, but here's the other issue. Those 30 telepaths potentially save thousands of lives.
Hmm.
Because by disabling those Earth Force destroyers, it allows Sheridan and everybody else not to have to directly engage them, but instead bypass them to where they're not going to be a nuisance or get hurt in what Sheridan and them have to do.
Or to be forced to follow illegal orders to, basically harm their own people.
Exactly,
I
because
think.
let's
Sorry.
no, go ahead, Elysium, please.
I think it was mentioned that it was 30,000 were on the ships, and the choice was 30 telepaths or 30,000 on the ships. And I was listening to a documentary on the proposed invasion of Japan during World War II, and it was pretty much the same dilemma. Do you use a nuclear weapon on a couple of cities, killing a few thousand, or face the prospect of, I think the lower estimate of casualties were in the tens of millions. So that's a similar dilemma to what Sheridan faced. And
Mm-hmm.
ethics aside, I think unfortunately he had to make the right decision.
I
Well,
think for Franklin. Oh, sorry.
Just to
No,
say
go
that they
ahead.
didn't pick them. They didn't pick them haphazardly. Bester would have just
Right.
thrown them out in the open, anybody except for what he wanted, which would be his girlfriend. At least the good guys chose telepaths that didn't have any known family connections anywhere.
Yeah, I
that's true.
think it's a numbers game that convinces like people like Franklin to go along with it, but moral wise, they'll never be acceptable. But I think acceptable of it. But I think with the numbers of how many lives they're saving, makes them go along with it. But it's still not easy because I think he cares about everybody. But I think that's why he goes along with it and not like opposed to it and not get involved to help. It's just
Well,
like a complex situation either way, but I think it is for the better good because Franklin does say he does value the numbers and the overall picture, but he's still not going to like it.
I think
Well, yeah.
that's sorry, Ambassador.
No, go ahead, Elysium. Go ahead.
No,
It's fine.
I think that's why, in some ways, we needed somebody who is. I think Franklin would be the most morally upstanding on the show.
Mm.
There's few more than him, and even he said it. It distresses me, but he said Sheridan is right. We need to sacrifice these 30 for the greater good, because if they don't sacrifice them, they can't get them help, and they're dead anyway. And there's no guarantee that of those 30, that all of them will be killed. So there's still the possibility that not every one of them will be killed.
And as healers, I've known a few who are like Franklin, where no matter the numbers, no matter the tough calls, they always do the most right thing. But even if it's at like something like that type of situation, it just sticks with them. Like they always regret it, even though it is the right thing. And it's what inspires them to continue to help more people. It's just tough calls, and that's just what war is like.
Yeah, because to kind of piggyback a little or backtrack just a little bit, the estimates for the invasion of Japan in the latter years of World War II were astronomically high, and you would have potentially been looking at, because here's the thing: the imperial government of Japan had convinced their people that the Americans, us, were just completely savage, brutal, evil individuals. And they would have quite literally fought to the last man, woman, and child. And that is something that the American government simply could not stomach, because it is unthinkable to go to that extreme. So yes, drop the dropping the atomic bomb was a horrific choice, but it was realistically the only choice we really had at the time. And it kind of goes back to the episode Into the Fire, when Sheridan and them are dealing with the war against the Shadows and the Vorlons. They either go to Centauri Prime or they go to what was the name of that planet? Coriana 6. You got to decide where to put all your chips.
And the other planet had more people than the Centauri.
That's true. And in this particular instance, it isn't so much a ideological battle. It is quite literally a kill or be killed situation. And Sheridan says it in his speech. We are sons and daughters of Earth. We love this world. It is our home. We have never been disloyal to Earth and to its people. And he calls out those within the government who want to move but haven't been able to. And Sheridan's speech is, I think, one of the most impassioned pieces of dialogue I've heard in science fiction. I mean, I would put it up there with the president's speech from Independence Day, which is a very patriotic but also a very unifying speech as well. And it's very true of what Sheridan has to say here in this episode. We love our home and we hate to see what has happened to it. And so we have had to take extraordinary measures to bring this tyrannical regime to an end. We've had to sacrifice lives. We've had to sacrifice so much because we believe in freedom. And we believe in our home being restored to its former state. We are not traitors. We are sons and daughters of Earth. And you see that I think it's Senator Crosby is the character's name, with those other officials and troops marching to Clark's office, and you see Clark sitting behind his desk doodling. You mean it's almost like the old phrase, "Watch Nero fiddled as Rome burned," although that's not completely and totally historically accurate per se. But it's a similar situation. Clark doesn't care, and he's going to just essentially take it all with him. I mean, honestly, Clark almost does what Cartagia failed to do. Let it all burn. He was going to take himself and everybody else on Earth with him. He did not care. If it ends with him. And when you hear that senator say scorched earth, and you realize, pardon me for saying so, holy shit, Clark is actually going to do this. He's going to destroy Earth if he can't have it. Ugh. That is the actions of a truly tyrannical and deranged mind.
Well, they had enough stuff like from past kind of empires that have fallen to showcase where that guy's mind was at. Because he didn't really care about Earth as in the people on Earth. He only cared about what he could use Earth for.
I just noticed something there that Archer Collin mentioned about Nero. That
yeah,
Nero
I saw that.
Nero. But I believe in some ways it mirrors what happens here. I believe after Nero was blamed by members of those around him for all of the stuff they did, they put everything onto him. And the very same thing happens here. The crimes of the Clark regime, of all the people, are hung around Clark, and there says he was Nero. So in many ways, it parallels that Roman emperor. And this is a quick thing. I think on his the thing he was writing was where he circled scorched earth. It was the ascension of the ordinary man, in some ways similar to Cartagia believing in his own ascension to godhood. And I wonder if there's a connection.
Well, let's be candid here. And Archer Collin, thank you for that bit of information. I recognize that actress from other movies and TV shows and so on. I just couldn't remember her name off the top of my head. So appreciate that, bud. really. And I'll bring up Shane's comment here. It's strange about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Dresden or Frankfurt had similar casualties. Arguably, it was as or more horrific. Firestorms, for example. Yeah, and if you look at if you listen to the dialogue, the orbiting defense satellites around Earth, those particle cannons, as the senator said, have the capacity to destroy 40% of the Earth's surface. And the one that was getting ready to fire before the Apollo came in, Lefcourt's ship, it was going, as they said, to completely destroy the eastern seaboard, the entire east coast of North America. And that could potentially stretch all the way up into Canada, not just so much the United States per se. That's a horrific amount of firepower. Yeah, Shane, I did recognize. She was a. I think she was a Romulan officer, if I remember correctly. So, jeez, Alicia.
And somehow, Mr. Sheridan there ends up riding into battle, using a ship to try to battering ram the defense grid around Earth because they ran out of everything else.
I actually like that. That's like a nod to Sinclair's tactics when defending Earth. It's kind of like a, little mirror or repeating poem.
Yeah, very true. I mean, and just a quick shout to the chat to one of the smartest and most excellent YouTubers out there. One of the smartest astrophysicists or quantum physicists that I know. Yvette Dioval. Yvette, good evening, madam, and thank you for popping by. Appreciate it. Good to see you as always. So, yeah, war. We often back in the and I kind of touched on this a little bit last night with my review of It's a Wonderful Life. We often, in the past, especially, we glorified war in a lot of ways. But especially with Babylon 5 and Star Trek and even Star Wars to a degree, especially with with Rogue One, we shed off the whole glamorization of conflict and war, and we see the real cost of it. And what this episode of Babylon 5 really does is it really brings into stark perspective is the cost, both mentally and physically and emotionally, of war. And we'll get into this a little bit more next week with the episode Rising Star. With so much action and intensity going on in this episode, it's nice to have. Granted, there is still tension, but it's tension of a different sort. It's what's going to happen ultimately to Sheridan and his officers. What's going to happen in the aftermath of everything of Sheridan's actions throughout the course of his campaign, or the campaign against Clark. And the acting president, Sushana Lachenko, I believe is the character's name.
Yeah,
she says it.
Lachenko.
Lachenko. She says it perfectly. The bitch of it is, you probably did the right thing. You just did it in the wrong way.
The wrong political way. Blech.
Yeah,
it was
specifically the wrong political way, because politics have a different. It's not really ethical or whatever.
But I think part of it, they set it up that way so that way Sheridan would have to step down as the commander of B5 and the military stuff. But then they would install him as gung ho President Sheridan.
He'll be the first president of the ISA, the Interstellar Alliance. Yeah. But with this episode, as I was saying, the glory of war is not present, because war is not glorious. At least not if you're unless you're a Klingon, of course. Let's to add just a smidgen of humor to break up the direness of this conversation. But war is not glorious. War is not something anyone should seek out because it is destructive. It is painful and it is costly. Particularly in the cost of life. And Sheridan and everybody else, going all the way back to season 3 with the episode Severed Dreams, they realize that it has come down to a point where you can no longer reason with your enemy, with your adversary. Armed conflict is the only resolution. And it's unfortunate. But unfortunately, Clark has left them no other recourse. Also, Mr. Bester has left them no other recourse. The Shadows left them no other recourse. But it all boils down to one man's ambition.
I think it's more tied in the next episode, but Sheridan and Bester's conversation in that one room. I do.
Yeah. And it's true because Sheridan said it perfectly. You'll wait a few years till everything calms down, then you'll start your little war, and you'll lose. A perfect allusion to, I imagine, what happens in the Psychor books.
Oh yeah, he thinks he gets off scot-free for a while, but his past comes back to haunt him. I'm surprised he didn't wreck that one lady in the end. He just merely warped her memories so she wouldn't remember him clearly.
The Psychor books do a great job of giving Bester his comeuppance.
I can imagine.
There's even a scene in there, and I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I'm going to give a spoiler as far as this goes. There's a scene between Garibaldi and Bester, and it is epic.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, Sheridan kind of says it, and we'll get a little bit more into it next week with the episode Rising Star.
Yes.
Yeah, there.
Because, I can imagine Mr. Garibaldi visited every unpleasant, painful, and torturous piece of retribution on Mr. Alfred Bester.
There's also emotional.
There's a really good. It's emotional, and there's also a really, really good Bester Babylon 5 twist. And if you know anything about Bester, it's like the equivalent of, you remember the scene in Empire Strikes Back where it's revealed that Lando has sold the rebels out to Darth Vader, and they walk into that dining room, and Vader is like, "We would be honored if you would join us." And the moment Han Solo points his gun at Darth Vader just uses the Force to take the gun away from him. There's a moment where you have Garibaldi confronting Bester, and it is fantastic. Oh my God. Great stuff. It should have been done. It should have been done as a Babylon 5 movie. It should have been done as one of the many movies that they did. The Fate of Bester should definitely be a film. I mean,
I agree. So, and just real quick, Elysium. I just want to say to Drake Tungsten, no, Drake, we're gonna be going for a little bit yet. So, you may have to rewind or catch the replay, but no, you're not coming in at the end whatsoever. So,
no, we haven't even gotten to the part where Marcus discovers the thing, and he's like, "Yay, I can save my lady!" And it's like, "Uh-oh, oh no." Marcus, no, you should have looked at more of the files. Sheridan and Franklin teamed up to heal Garibaldi. You should have had like 10 people volunteer to help heal Susan. Oh my God.
That's a classic tragedy of people drunk on love in an extreme situation. They take great lengths at the first sign of hope and just go for it. It's very Romeo and Juliet.
Because I bet you they would have found more than enough volunteers to be like, okay, we can help Ivanova. We'll just volunteer a little bit of our life force, like 20 to 30 people.
Yeah, it'd be
Yeah,
all right.
exactly. So, Elysium, you were going to say something. Go ahead, my friend.
No, it was just a mention about the when we're talking about the Babylon 5 books. I've been hearing stuff around the internet calls for turning them into for animated movies, so you could bring back some of the old cast. But that's just kind of fan calls for it, so that
I would be
it
good
wouldn't
with that.
affect the reboot. But I'd love to see that.
That's what I. Yes, Fiona, we know you don't like the
No,
reboot. Can we move along,
no,
please?
no, no, not that. Not about the reboot. They could have probably, if fans want to, they could probably draw some images and make it like a little motion comic. If they can't, get animated done. I've seen motion comics that do pretty well.
Or even with Flash, what Heishi uses, you can make a decent animated thing very cleverly. I mean, Star Trek continues. People go lengths.
I could actually see it being done as an animated film.
I would actually wish it was like anime style, like Robotech. Like
Right.
that'd be
Ooh,
sick.
that'd be good.
You know?
That'd be a good. I think that would actually be a good. That would be a good style.
It'd be a good
of
mold because
anime.
Babylon 5 was conceived and created in the 80s, like before, all the story writing, coming up with the characters and all this stuff. So
Yeah.
I think it'd be a good nod and fit.
I'd love to see the guy who did that fan movie, Arstades, for the Warhammer 40k. He did some beautiful work on the animation there.
Oh, that's gorgeous stuff. That's right.
Yeah, there's a guy that I often see in Three Buck Theaters chat and everything. The guy's name is Command Unit, and he's always talking about little fan films, animated and live action and everything for Warhammer 40k. So, but the the crazy thing about this episode is they're able to still build the tension for whether or not everybody's going to make it out alive, because obviously we realize that Marcus probably isn't going to survive because we know exactly what that machine can do. And they even put a bit of tension in there for Sheridan when he's coming through the explosion and the Agamemnon's already damaged, and you're thinking, did they use just a little bit of plot armor for Captain Sheridan when the ship's going through that explosion? Did he have just a little bit of plot armor?
I mean, it is on a fair amount of the main characters. There's times where they could have easily died, even Londo and Jakar.
Yeah,
that is true.
But the trick is to do the narrative tension to where some readers or viewers don't care if the character has plot armor or not, but some people care about that enough to where it'll break their narrative tension if they realize it's there. So, sometimes you got to try to balance it depending on what your audience is. Me, I don't care. I like to see how people MacGyver their way out of situations.
I agree. I like that too.
Well, but in this particular... Go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah. I think it was the JMS. Sorry, JMS himself said that sometimes he doesn't mind using plot armor or Deus Ex Machina as long as it doesn't break believability too much, as long as it serves the story and doesn't break the greater universe. I can't remember where it was in the Lurker's Guide somewhere.
And Carter-Shev 5 civilizations can be that because their technology is kind of like magic because it's beyond our understanding.
Yeah. Well, and I'll bring up. I've got Colin's comment up here. I would actually be happy to see it done as a live action with Garibaldi replaced by, say, his daughter, given that we can't have Jerry Doyle for the role. Well, here's the other thing too that they could do, Colin. It could be potentially done from the perspective of, say, one of Garibaldi's children, where she's going through his files and his diary or whatever that he left behind. That's definitely a way forward if they ever want to go forward with something like that, but maybe do it as an animated feature, but have it from the perspective of, well, one of Garibaldi and Lisa's children, because we know that they do have children down the road, and have it be one of the kids finds after he's gone, because evidently, well, obviously, Mr. Garibaldi eventually does die. I mean, they all eventually die from old age or whatever.
Indeed. Yes.
So it could be you have her narrating it from the perspective of an outsider, and she's reading it, but it's in her voice, not Garibaldi's per se. But you see Garibaldi in an animated form. You just don't have him necessarily speak unless you can find a really good voice actor that sounds enough like Jerry Doyle to fill that particular role where it's
just
needed.
get
If not
Bruce-
sound
they
like
could
him,
just
at
get-
least match his speech pattern, which
they
many
could get,
can.
Yeah.
guys, they could get Bruce Willis to do it.
Oh Lord. Oh Lord.
You know what, Zod? That's not a terribly bad idea.
And Bruce
question
Willis
is-
will work. Bruce Willis works very cheap these days. Have you seen some of the movies he's been in lately? I mean,
all
come
right.
on. No, I'm being serious. Like, this would be the time to get him to do the voice of Garibaldi, and they would come full circle. It'd be awesome.
Super Green.
You know, now that I think about it, Clark was a pretty effective villain without actually having much on-screen presence.
That's very true.
Well,
Yeah,
that's usually the way it is. You feel their talents by the people who work and are manipulated by them, really. They sit back and as cowards and let everyone else do their dirty work.
And then
Well.
of course you have villains that do have on-screen presence, like Bester.
Babylon 5, everyone dies.
Oh no!
That's
Wait,
true.
when did it become 40K? What? Although personally, I do still think Babylon 5 has more subversive leanings than not.
Mm.
But it's not quite as, say, utopic as the Trek setting.
That's true. I mean, there is a lot more contention, although with Star Trek to certain degrees. I mean, if you look at the one Next Generation movie, we do see the facade of the Federation fall down just a little bit. I mean, think about it. Picard, one of their most decorated and respected captains, decides to do a mutiny. And, you know, the crazy thing is, we never see him get called out for that mutiny. Ever. Think about that. I think maybe I should do a deep dive on that movie, the Star Trek Insurrection. Because think about this. Captain John Sheridan, he faces the possibility of a lot of repercussions for what he does. And we do see the outcome of it. But for Picard, think about how many times he has disobeyed orders, direct orders from Starfleet Command, and he doesn't get so much as a
I
step
think
on
it's
the
debatable. I think it's debatable as to whether or not Picard broke more rules than Captain Kirk. I think you really have to look at that. Like the two of them are not really far off in terms of the rules that they've broken. Just saying.
Although I consider Kirk definitely more pulpy, kind of like hands-on kind of captain. Even though Picard did do a lot of hands-on things, I think Kirk was even more hands-on.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially with the green ladies.
Yes, because if any of you are a purveyor of robot chicken, we know that Captain Kirk likes to get down with all sorts of alien species, and he's pretty okay. Okay.
Although
He's a fan of mint.
Although Sheridan got to get down with the interspecies stuff too.
Oh yeah, remember when Ivana said he's about to go where everyone's gone before. Just saying.
That was with a human girl though.
No.
Well, yeah, but
and she wasn't as perky except for some other regions. Oh,
I don't know about that one being human. I'd say she was more wagon than human.
Oh no!
Wasn't she? Yeah, okay. I don't remember. Was she on Earth or was she on Earth or was she on Mars? I can't remember.
I don't know.
The one chick where that Ivanova says, I think you're about to go where everybody's gone before.
It was.
I think she was stationed on Earth.
Yeah,
okay.
she was the
Yeah,
night.
because she was more loyal to Earth.
Yeah, she was
Martians rarely.
She was loyal to Earth. I remember the Night
Yeah.
Watch. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never met someone who could say no to a perfectly reasonable proposition.
And
Uh,
hey,
sorry,
I actually
go ahead,
have
Elysium.
to.
Go ahead, Elysium.
I was just thinking. I think we're forgetting that it was Clark who rebelled first. He was the one who had the coup against the Earth Senate and had them all arrested. So technically,
Mm.
I'd say that Sheridan was actually savior rather than he
Yeah,
was.
yeah, but like that
Oh,
one lady
hands
says
down.
in the episode, he didn't quite do it, or was that the next episode? But he didn't quite do it in the right way, even though it was the right thing to do. But
Yeah,
that's
it
why
was like,
Babylon 5 does still appeal to me, is because the heroes do the right thing even when it's not really expedient.
I think it
Mm.
was mentioned in the chat earlier. Was it Colin or something mentioned said the inconvenient way?
yes, the President Luchenko. She says to him, and yes, I'm swearing a little bit more, but it's appropriate here. The bitch of the thing is, you probably did the right thing. That's true. Sheridan did the right thing. He went about it the wrong way and created a headache for everybody else. But you know what? When men of good conscience do, I'm trying to remember this quote, and it's going to drive me nuts because I'm probably going to butcher it all to hell. Evil thrives when men of good conscience do nothing. Sheridan was a
Mhm.
person, man or woman, of good conscience. Therefore, he could do nothing. He couldn't just stand by and do nothing. He had to act. He was forced to act, as was Ivanova, as was Franklin and Garibaldi, even though Garibaldi finally got his head back in the game, well, quite literally after he got released by Mr. Bester. Sniveling little toad, take a PPG and shove it up his butt, shove it up his sphincter until the cap is run out
Well,
of
still,
charge.
Bester gets his comeuppance in the end. He knows.
I'm sure he does. And one of you's gonna have to one of y'all is gonna have to tell me off air or something what happens, because I don't necessarily have the time to read. I'm sorry, I don't. I work a full-time job. I have a life. It's not that I don't like reading. I do. So you're just gonna have one of these days. You're just gonna have to tell me, what does Garibaldi do to Bester?
I'm a little stickler. I'm saying it's worth the read, though. I'm just gonna say.
I don't have the time.
No, but not
I don't
now.
mind
But
this. I don't mind
later.
this spoiled. I don't mind this spoiled. So somebody just tell me.
All right.
Finger.
Off
Go
show.
ahead.
Off show.
Off air. Okay, fine.
Oh,
I think
man.
that's fair.
Well, let's
Okay.
just put it this way: for on air, Bester really did create his own karma nest of ultimate destruction.
Absolutely. Yes. Hey, absolutely.
I know, and I do have a vague reference to what that means. Holy freaking crap! He gets karma paid back on him tenfold. Wow.
Yes, the boot did not forget him. It came coming in from the other side of the field and smacked him straight in the face.
Hey, absolutely.
So
As
essentially,
Lord Koj would say, hey.
so essentially, what Garibaldi does is what Nick Fury would have done to Loki had he had the chance. Ant boot. If y'all get to remember that reference from the first Avengers movie.
No. But I will say that it's very, very satisfying. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. Goj, you're going to have to fill me in after we're done. Beans, everybody else.
I'm spoiling.
I want it spoiled.
I vote Fiona.
I am saying to you all, I want it spoiled. I want to know, because y'all have been hinting about it for such a damn long time.
Well,
I would rather find my book, find the page, and scan it and send you just that bit. You don't have to read the whole thing. Maybe that. I think that would be more satisfying.
Well, Drake hasn't read it, so I don't want to spoil something. But like,
Okay,
I know
said,
how most people feel about
We'll
spoilers.
do it off air. We'll do it off air, so nothing gets spoiled for anybody who hasn't read the books. I want to know. Hey, I'm technically the head of this council. I can.
All right. Well, that makes sense. That's fair enough.
We got you, Ducat.
He's gonna start. He's gonna start deleting people from the council.
I have faded away.
I know, because I've already been there. I was removed from the council for a while, so I understand.
The only reason you were removed, Zod, is because you were busy and we didn't know what was going on with you. It wasn't that you had fallen out of favor with the council. You never fell out of favor with the council. We just didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, I don't think
okay.
you
So
fell out, man.
don't misconstrue the fact that the lines of communication just weren't like, "Hey guys, I'm off doing this and that, and I just been busy." That was the long and short of it. We weren't ticked at you. We were never mad at you, not for one instant, myself included.
Never.
But here's the
No,
here's the
I
thing.
know, I get that. I understand that part.
But here's the thing.
I'm not using it in that same kind of
I know
context.
you're not.
We just jokes.
But in this particular instance, I am exercising my authority as founder of the Council of Ones. I want to know what happened to Bester.
I love it.
He gets a hero's memorial. That's one spoiler I'll give you. He gets a
what his
hero's
parents
memorial.
ultimately dreamed for him, but didn't happen.
Yeah.
Oh God!
That was cool.
My legs.
Well, this stream has gone off the rails. Of course, that's oftentimes
We just can't wait to get to Bester, and we're already busy with Clark here.
But no, the biggest thing though, like, I even tried pausing it at the point where it shows scorched earth on the piece of paper. That the ascension of the ordinary man that he wrote on the paper, but when he circled all the letters, what's all the signatures up top? And like on the sides, I couldn't get it out clearly. But I have
no freaking
I have to look
idea.
back into that.
It's actually in the Babylon Wiki. There's a picture of it there. I'll put it in the copy it, the link, and I'll pop that in the chat there. So if anyone wants to have a look, the image of the page is in there.
Yeah, because it's like, in some perverted way, he was kind of like the Centauri Emperor Cartagia, wanting to ascend from being a normal dude. It's like, you're going to just be remembered as the biggest jerk thing of 22XX,
2261.
It's like, that's all you're going to be able to be remembered for. No ascension of the ordinary man.
You were a overweight, balding, lecherous little toad of a man. And can we just say he had one of the... I'm not saying this to sound mean, because I myself, most everybody knows this, I'm a white guy. But he has one of the whitest names I've ever heard. William Morgan Clark. Sounds like the name of a serial killer. Dun dun dun.
I mean, there might be some bigger meaning behind his name. Some other characters did have meanings behind their names, but...
Or maybe all three names are the three people JMS worked for when he was a kid and he didn't like them. And he put them all together in one guy.
Well, let's just
that bald man holding the earth right there. There he is.
Well, let's just say it.
I popped him into as the avatar.
Oh God, but still, the saddest part of this damn episode to me is where you see just Marcus beating up everybody, because he did beat up a few people to get.
Well, he didn't. You don't see him do it. You just see the aftermath. And
I know, but there's still enough of the aftermath where I'm like, oh my God, Marcus, you should have asked people. The medical people could have told you. We need more than just you.
Well, when Marcus is riled up, remember when Delenn was in danger and she wanted her ceremony to go on, and then he was beating people up?
Oh God!
He'll go there.
He was getting beat up himself by
man! And the fact that the last thing he says to her that he loves her, and apparently that's the point where Ivanova's starting to wake up and can actually hear him talking, and it's like, oh no, because she explains some of it the next episode, but it's just like, Marcus, you know, you should have asked. Oh God, dang it, because that's the point where the actual viewer knows more in-universe stuff than the actual character, and then you're like, oh no.
Right.
Oh no. Because Sheridan did ask Dr. Franklin that question, what would happen if I passed out while this thing was taking stuff from me? It would keep going until there's nothing left. Oh crap.
Yep. Well, and here's the other kicker. Here's the other kick in the head about this whole thing with Ivanova and Marcus. Love is good. Love heals us. Love binds us. Love unifies us. But also, love can drive us to do very unethical and, not unethical, but very unwise things in our lives. And for Marcus, it drives him to sacrifice his life to save the woman that he loves. Yeah, okay. I'll reference a movie that I think everybody here has seen. Um, it's towards the beginning of Matrix Revolutions, when they're in the Merovingians club, and the Merovingian makes the remark to Trinity. It's interesting that the patron for love is also the patron for madness. And you could say that, and no pun intended, Marcus was madly in love with Susan, and he would do anything to save her life. I mean, you could almost say that being she went to such an extreme degree for her love of her friend John Sheridan and their mission, that she was so driven to destroy those advanced Earth Force destroyers that Marcus felt he had to do the equally noble thing and sacrifice his life for the woman that he loves, even though she never, well, she knew it, but she never acted upon it.
Oh no, I think they both knew it, but they both didn't act upon it with each other at all. Yep. 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 Somebody should have made the first move, dang it, but they never did.
That's a lesson for us watching it. I know there's a couple I should have voiced my feelings for back in my past. But I think we all have been there. It's just hard.
Yes, we have all been there.
And this is probably the price. It comes out all at once, too late. When it's like bottling up feelings. We say that we need to vent out our anger so it doesn't become us or build up too much and explode at the wrong time. Anger is the opposite of love. So I think, but it's still emotional to the heart. So I think it has the same effect. Like if you bottle up love too much in a moment that is desperate, inopportune, or dangerous, or vulnerable, it might just gush out, and you might do something a little too rash, even though the intentions are good.
Yeah, because Marcus's intentions are purely good here.
Always.
Marcus may be brash, and as Ivanova says, and we can go deeper dive on this next week with the episode Rising Star. He was always brash. He was always undisciplined. He was always bucking orders and so on. But at the core of his self, Marcus Cole was a truly decent man, and he lived and he died for his principles.
He's pretty chivalrous kind of knight setup.
Well, and that's the interesting thing. That's the interesting thing for me. If you look at Marcus's arc, if you go back to the Le de Mort Arthur, the story of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, the whole concept, and this is even echoed in Lanier's character arc, the concept of courtly love. Straczynski did his research. He knew his mythos. And we'll focus on Marcus here. Marcus, in a lot of ways, was like Lancelot, who was in love with Guinevere. And unfortunately, due to their tryst, their love affair, it caused the downfall of Camelot. But in this particular instance, it caused Ivanova to take a step back from Earth Force, or to eventually leave Earth Force at the end of season 5. And you see her take on the robes of the next Intilza, the next head of the Rangers. And of course, as she is referenced in the season 4 finale, she is remembered by the Rangers as Ivanova the Strong, and everything that entails. because I would imagine that there were quite a few historians and records that were preserved of Captain Susan Ivanova, or as the Rangers would know her, Intel Za.
Mm.
I personally do like Courtney Love, because even though Ivanova thinks it's kind of like a waste of time because she's been burned so much, it's like there's still cases of where it worked out. Especially in Sheridan and Delen's case. But I know a lot of things. A lot of people are more attracted to like tragedies right now, but me, no. I decided I'm going to go in a different direction. And there's a happy ending, and there's a happy ending, and there's a happy ending. But doesn't mean that the way that they went about it was completely wrong. It's just that I'm taking ideas as I get them, and I'm like, okay, what would I have switched around had this been a more ideal setting? But still, at least with Babylon 5, what they did is they showcase characters who have genuine virtues in a world that might not always be as virtuous, which you can showcase virtues even clearer in such a world like that.
And Archer, no, that is not chilling whatsoever. You have that wrench. At least I believe you still have that wrench. I don't think I ever. Nope. You don't have a wrench. How the hell do you not have a wrench? We're gonna solve that. Archer, if you want to drop the link for that, my chat's catching up over on my YouTube tab. Just 1 second. As soon as I can get to you. Add as a moderator. There we go. And to the chat, gentlemen, don't think I've been ignoring you. We've just been caught up in the discussion. Ace Mowick and Geeks of MB Geeks, let's talk, gentlemen. Good afternoon. Good to see you both, and thank you for popping by. And yeah, I'll pop up. Computer's being weird today.
One other thing that caught me when I was watching this episode, when Franklin's just like, we have to go faster, because he knows exactly what's going to happen. He has the in-universe knowledge like the viewer does, and it's just like, you're praying like, come on, Franklin, pull at all speeds, go, buddy, go! And it's like, oh no.
Kind of wish that they had that quantum space.
Yeah.
Or the faster FTL stuff that was discovered, in the Lost Tales and things like that. Like, and when Sharon's talking to the reporter lady, oh, you're gonna love this part.
Exactly, that's the one I was talking about.
Oh god, oh man, but no, it just makes you wish that there was some in-universe reason they could have, But the way Straczynski wrote it, he wanted it more of another tragedy to add under the poor Ivanova. It's like, oh, because I kept thinking, Ivanova's had enough tragedy. She really has. Oh.
Yeah, unfortunately, unfortunately for Susan Ivanova, you quite clearly could say her life has been one Grecian tragedy. Her father dies, and she never actually gets to say goodbye to him. I can relate to that. She gets her heart broken more times than we can count. And then the one guy that would never do her wrong, never screw her over, never do wrong by her ever, would love her and be devoted to her, and who she could devote herself to. She doesn't even boff. Hey, she said it. I'm just quoting her.
Back in the day, I had to look up boff. I was like, what? I didn't get it at the time.
Oh,
I thought it was like, it sounded like a word like throw up. So I was like, huh? But later I got it.
I'd have to look it up. I think it is an acronym, perhaps kind of like the F star word, because that word is actually an acronym too. So
just a little from under clearance of the king or something.
No, for your carnal knowledge.
Hey, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I didn't know. Thank you.
Yeah, I actually learned that back in my early 20s and everything when I was working at so. But yeah, of course, this episode ends with the first broadcast of ISN as it should have been, with an honest journalist. And yes, I will use that. I will use that term deliberately. The woman there, she was an honest journalist, and
She was the same one that was in when they were initially getting stampeded by Clark's forces, and the other guy was butting in to say, "We haven't been able to tell you about all this." As the Clark's forces are coming in. So
Archer Colin, I can't believe you did that.
All
right, I've got to look this up.
Oh, jeez. Okay, apparently it's actually in the dictionary. Okay, then.
Yes, it's in Merriam-Webster's. Often vulgar to have sexual intercourse with. Let's see, a boff, a hearty laugh, a gag or line that pronounces a hearty laugh, something that is conspicuously successful. Well, let's be candid here. Concerning Pecos virgin and considering Susan Ivanova's potential libido, it would have been very successful. It would have been very, very, very successful, and I think they would have been very, very happy. Of course, here's the thing. How the hell do you have sex on a Minbari bed?
I'm gonna be silent.
Honestly,
where there's a
How
will,
the hell do you have a
where there's a will, there's a way. Okay,
And when there's a blank, there's a way.
we'll figure it out.
Although, if you do notice in
Marcus
later
can figure-
episodes, Sheridan and Delenn don't actually sleep in Minbari beds too often. I think she got used to the human bed.
I think she got used to the human.
Yes, indeed.
You saw how she did it with the Lamati, so you don't know.
Oh, good grief. Elysium, really?
Man.
Elysium,
Wow.
really? Elysium, really?
It had to be
What
done.
Yes,
Oh,
it
boy.
had to be done, but why did you do it? That's what she said.
Someone-
Oh, no. Oh, good grief.
Oh, God.
That's what she-
Well, there you have it. But see, that's the reason why sometimes you shouldn't spell out some of these situations. Fade to black works really well. People's imaginations could run wild if they feel like it.
I don't mind that. Fade to black. Give him privacy. It's like more love for the character. I'm cool with that.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah, but even though the incurable
Well,
romantic side story, which is in that link, even though a future version of Marcus and Ivanova are able to get together, you gotta wonder where the memory imprint stopped at because apparently in the future they memory encoded Ivanova, and Marcus was able to put that memory encoded stuff into a new body for her, because eventually they developed the tech to revive him. But it's just like, which part of Ivanova actually got to experience that? It's like, it was never really made clear.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. There was another sci-fi show, animated, Exo Squad. They did the same thing. They had a character got killed off, and he was a very Marcus character, and he was in love with a very Ivanova character in that show too. And they had this thing where they pilot their ships through their cerebral. It connects their brain, but the scientists developed a AI that would record the person's brain and imitate it. So what the guy did, he cloned the guy and then put that information of the AI into that guy's memory. So it's a different being, but he has all the memories and experiences of the real guy. So I'm thinking it's a different person with the same memory, but made the other girl happy. So I was like, that's interesting.
That's what she said. Well, and let's just okay. All right. I just, Vienna, let me get this out.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, Marcus was trained how to think, how to speak, how to fight, and how to die in Minbari. So it is potentially there is the potential there that he was also taught how to have relations like a Minbari would. And hell, we don't know.
You said
mean, just-
Minbari. Hey, you said Minbari would. We gotta address that. Minbari would.
How do you spell that? I'm just kidding.
Minbari and then dash wood. WOOD.
Oh, for the love of!
I heard you
getting just
facepalm,
downright-
Ambassador.
This is just getting downright juvenile.
Some mysteries should be left out in the ether.
It's getting dirty in here. I need
That's
a
what she
shower.
said.
I blame Clark.
Left to ponder, because even they even brought it up as a joke when Ivanova was doing Delenn's hair, and it's like, or things like that. It's like, wait, you guys, do you sweat? And it's like, no, don't. Ivanova's like, no, don't explain that to me, no.
We sweat. We secrete a substance from our pores.
And they like shed or peel it off or something.
Yeah, and I was like,
yeah.
oh no, I didn't know I want to know that. And then the whole odd cramps thing, and it's like, poor Susan gets hit with all.
Yeah, because think about it.
Yeah. Oh
Because
God,
Delenn
poor
is now-
Susan.
Because Delenn is now half human. Of course, here's the question: do other and this is okay? I can't believe we're going here, but what the hell? We might as well. Do the females of the different alien species in the B5 universe? Do they have to go through the same thing the human women do? And if so, how much worse for them is it?
It's unfortunate. Let's just put it that way.
I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine oh my gosh!
It's unfortunate. It's all unfortunate.
The poor female Pakmarad. Can you imagine what their tentacles are doing when they're having a really bad time of the month? Jeez. Their tentacles are going all over the place.
That is if they get rid of their eggs the same way.
Yeah, who's to say that they even have that? They're the same kind of reproductive issues, though.
Because remember with
We're speaking of it
the
in human terms, not I mean,
yeah, because remember when Ivanova was taking advantage of that alien's ignorance about sexual interactions?
yes.
And there could be different ways because we
Man.
even know the Narn carry babies in their pouches if they're premature or something.
Like in that
series,
like in that TV series we often reference, Alien Nation, where in that series the men of the species had the babies, and the babies were and they had like little pouches where the babies came out of, whereas the females were, and it was one of the funniest lines on that show ever was when one of the male aliens said, well, if women were the ones having the babies, there probably wouldn't be any babies at all. I mean, it
the reverse. It's hilarious.
It was the whole reversal. It was hilarious, but
I thought it was in Alienation. It was three, the male and the female, and then they had another kind of male character who carried it in a pouch, but it was separate to the parents. From what I remember.
Yeah, there was a scene. I forget.
It was the janitor in the police station that was.
Yeah, the janitor. Yeah, I remember. And he wanted George to be like the surrogate father for his child. Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
I started thinking Enemy Mine too. Even there, the Drac, they were all.
Oh, good grief! Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a movie I've never done a review for. You know that?
The Drac.
Really?
The
Yeah.
Drac actually come from Enemy Mine. There's a connection there between the Drac and the Enemy Mine. Yes.
I've never actually. I've seen that movie, but I've never done a review for it. I think I need to.
Oh, they remastered it and it's out digitally now.
Yeah, it
Thank
looks
God, because they only made
fantastic.
limited
Oh,
copies of that DVD. Oh my God.
Yeah, it looks
No, the
fantastic.
Blu-ray.
The
The
Blu-ray.
Blu-ray was limited copies. I remember.
Oh, speaking of, I don't know if any of you are a fan of this movie or not, but evidently they did a 4K remaster of Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within.
Yep.
Wait. I thought you were going to say they did a 4K remaster of Roger Corman's Fantastic Four. Now that I would have given you some credit for, but when you said Spirits Within, I was just like, you crushed my soul. I'm like, oh no.
Oh no.
I doubt that will ever happen. I
It would be great.
seriously
We'd be able to see. We'd be able to see all of the visual effects, all of the tricks behind the curtain, basically.
I watched that over when a few weeks ago over on the lounge and everything. They did a watch party for the Roger Corman Fantastic Four. I'm like, oh my freaking gosh, this is so freaking cringy.
Oh, I love that movie so much. It is
A lot of
great.
people do. I mean, I had never seen it up until a few weeks ago. I had never watched it. Like seriously, I had never seen the Roger Corman Fantastic Four, and I'm like, the only thing you got right was Doctor Doom. And then you referenced, of course, they referenced it. So, and MB Geek, you have a good night, bud, and appreciate you stopping by and go enjoy you some B5. So anyway, well, guys, I think we're gonna do final thoughts, and then we're probably gonna wrap up for the afternoon. So, I yield the floor. That's what she said.
I'll jump in because I got two notes.
Go ahead.
They're simple. I just love how epic the scope was of because a lot of the scenes, even like just them getting into formation with their ships, was glorious to see the movement of the Star Furies and everything. And I like that it was like a new kind of battle of the line where they're trying to save Earth rather than conquer it, as far as a quote aggression force coming to a force and power on Earth. It was kind of like a reverse, and I thought that's kind of cool. And another thing is, ever since that last 2 episodes ago when Sheridan was interrogated, I've been watching the show in black and white, and oh my gosh, this episode looks good in black and white. It kind of makes the CGI
Everything looks good in black and white.
Yeah, but specifically this one, since they remastered it, the edges are sharper, the color is deeper, so you can kind of see more scope. And then in black and white, I think it just pops and it flows beautifully. But yes, I am a sucker for black and white, and you are right, Zod. I share that same opinion too. Everything looks great.
And everything does. I mean, one of my all-time favorite animes ever is the animated movie Fist of the North Star, and I like watching that movie in grayscale because I think it brings out like the sharpness of the animation, and the manga just like pops off the screen in black and white. I love doing that for all types of my favorite movies and stuff. So I'm right there with you, Koji.
My man.
Great. I think that's
I
great.
do with the prequels of Star Wars too. But yeah, those are my notes.
The PS4 game for Fist of the North Star is pretty good too. Has a
Oh,
nice
it's
story.
dope.
Yeah.
Is that not dope? Oh, it's so great. Oh my
It's
God.
like it's one of the few legitimately darker settings that I can still enjoy because Ken is so freaking heroic. You know,
Fiona, you got to check out the manga. They've started officially releasing the manga in the U.S.
I already got both volumes.
Oh,
and
you got the first
third's on
2
the way.
volumes? Oh,
Yeah.
yes. See,
The third's already
Oh
on
my
the way.
God. See, I knew there was a reason why I gravitate towards your stuff. You're so awesome. Yeah, Fist of the North Star is like it's like my all-time favorite thing, like Japanese.
I mean, I like it a lot more than
Hey.
Berserk, just because it feels like Fist of the North Star
I
has
agree.
more hope in it than Berserk does. Even though Berserk has some lighter elements,
Yeah, Berserk was inspired by Fist of the North Star. There's a lot of things that like Mira is there's a lot of like almost connections. Like the creator of Fist of the North Star did a really good tribute to Berserk, to Guts, when the creator of Berserk died, and there's all these really great, like little connections between the two just because the animation style is similar. But ultimately for me, Fist of the North Star is the greatest manga of all time. It's beautiful. that PS4 game is awesome,
and it has
too.
a little bit of an alternate ending from the actual main series because the main series does have a little bit of a downer thing with Ken's wife and whatnot, but the game was able to say, like, here, let's do a slightly alternate direction.
Yeah, it's almost like a different universe, like a different timeline kind of a thing.
And I don't mind that.
It's like part of the Fist of the North Star multiverse. That's kind of how I take it. Because it's different enough. Like it's different enough from the main storyline, but to be something new, you know?
Oh, I used to do that too. I used to think Star Wars was a long time ago and in a galaxy far, far away, and Babylon 5 was here in the now, and Star Trek is the future far, far away in a galaxy nearby. I used to do that.
I guess the only thing I could close out with this episode on, though, is I like the fact that they brought in one of Sheridan's old teachers to try to get some insight on Sheridan.
Yeah, that was
because
awesome.
weren't they filming in the beginning too around this time?
Yes, they were. Yeah.
So that works out.
Because I think that same officer or that same actor made an appearance in the beginning. Yeah, I think
Yep,
Yeah,
and
he's
they
a key
put makeup
character
on
in that
everybody
story.
to make them seem younger than what they were too. It gave Sheridan more of a buzz cut to make him seem younger.
Right.
But yeah,
Now-
I just thought it was an interesting mirror moment where they thought his old instructor would know enough about him, and his old instructor did know enough, but not the whole picture, not anymore. So.
And so his old instructor was a good example of why good people are able to succeed, good people to do nothing. His old instructor was a General Lefport, was a good man. And
Yeah.
demonstrably good man.
He made his own calls when he heard the whole story.
But he
Yes.
still supported Clark.
That and I know you put it in the private chat, but for the Lurker's Guide, the less is more aspect of certain villains works like a charm. It really does.
that is true.
Yes.
Yeah, that is true. So,
I was
Elysium.
going to mention, I think I loved some of the world building that JMS put into this. I think we were mentioning before about some of the shows. JMS didn't put reality in some ways into this, like the lower gravity. He said he was thinking of doing it, but he said the way people would run would look stupid on screen if he reproduced how the gravity would look. So he left it at normal Earth gravity, but to allow people outside, because this is about 200 years in the future, Mars is somewhat terraformed, which is why they don't need spacesuits outside. And
Mm-hmm.
if we went to Mars today, you'd need a pressure suit because your blood would boil at surface pressures on Mars. But there, they've raised it enough that they only need air breathers on it, which I think is a lovely touch and really builds.
Mm-hmm.
It's not mentioned, not shown, but you can see in the Lurker's Guide, they were thinking about that, and they're building a world that is just fantastic.
Well, and if you think about it too, it's Straczynski drawing from a lot of science fiction that surrounds the planet of Mars, particularly with a favorite sci-fi film of the 1980s, Total Recall, and you have the entire opening, and then of course you have the conclusion where Mars now has a breathable atmosphere. So, it was a very nice touch in terms of Mr. Straczynski. So, but my last thoughts on Endgame, not the Marvel one, the B5 one. I think this was a very satisfying, emotional conclusion to the war against Clark. And of course, the next couple episodes set up what would potentially be the future for the B5 universe. And we got the bad guy got his comeuppance, though it did not come without a cost. But in the end, I know it may sound cheesy, the good guys won, the bad guys lost. At least for a time. So, anyways, folks, I want to thank you all for tuning in this afternoon, joining me and the council. We hope you enjoyed this stream. And, of course, make sure if you're catching this on the replay, you leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. Continue the conversation down there with anything that we brought up or that we happen to have missed. Because there may be 5 of us here, but we can't catch every single thing in all of these episodes of B5.
And Ambassador, I put the fate of Bester in the
I saw.
in the private
I'll read
chat.
it. Yeah, I saw
Okay.
it. I'll read it later. Thank you, Zod.
Oh, you got yes. I'm not home yet to get it. So nice.
Thank you, Zod, very much. I appreciate it. Truly.
You
You're
could
welcome.
say Garibaldi buried the hatchet.
Exactly.
Lord. Tim talks really.
Hey, Tim.
Oh, hey, Tim. Good grief, dude. Tim, good to see you. But geez, why'd you have to come in with a bad joke? Anyways,
It's a good episode
Thank-
for that, maybe.
that's true. It is. So, but anyways, guys and gals, thank you for tuning in today. I do want to let you know I'll be making an appearance over on Orange Hat Reviews channel this evening. We'll be doing a discussion on a favorite film of mine from the 1990s, Braveheart. So, and that'll be at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. So, and I will of course be back tomorrow night at 7 p.m. and we'll be starting a brand new review series here on the Ambassador Wing to commemorate the 20th anniversary of a truly iconic piece of cinema. I will be doing reviews over the next 3 weeks of the master himself, J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, directed by another master, Mr. Peter Jackson. So, hope to see y'all for those as well. So, and appreciate all the support. I want to thank you all for being a part of the Ambassadorial Wing. Thank you all for tuning in for these streams each and every week. So, but with all that being said, folks, we will see you next week. And until next week, and let's try and get this right this time. This is the Council of One saying, Zooty, Zooty,
Zoot.
Zoot, Zoot.
Zoot.
All right, let's try that again. Once more with feeling.
With
Vienna,
feeling.
Zod, Koj. On 1, 2, 3.
Mm,
Zooty,
Zooty,
Zoot,
Zoot,
Zoot.
Zoot.
That was better. I like that one though. That was good.
Much better. Good night, everybody.